Thank you for joining us today for this demonstration of the Novara Flex program, which is a safety and health management software available to CAM members. Today, we're happy to welcome representatives from Novara to talk to us about the many benefits associated with using this kind of platform to streamline your safety and health management system. Novara Flex is two pieces. It's the online platform where you can control all of your forms, your safety data sheets, and more, but it's also a unique mobile application that your field personnel can download to their cell phones to interact with your software. This demonstration will include the computer-based version, but if you're interested in more information about how it connects to the mobile app, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. For more information about accessing this member benefit, visit www.buildwithcam.com. And now we'll turn it over to our friends at Novara.
Okay, so we saw the mobile application, right? Get a sense of how your field, but also your safety teams would obviously interact with that. Anyone kind of on the go, not in front of their computer, would likely be using that mobile application. I'm going to shift views here, kind of other side of the house, which we call the web application, the web platform. Obviously the same platform, just different experience here, browser driven at this point. I could do all of the functions that Rosanna just showed, right? I can actually fill out a toolbox talk. I can fill out an inspection. I can fill out an incident report. I can do all that from the web app as well. And I can access the resources and do a lot of that functionality. Where you get more functionality here on the web is more on the administrative side, kind of setting up the system, managing who can do what, who can't do what, getting into the nuts and bolts of the reporting and the analytics and the metrics and leading and lagging indicators and kind of running a lot of analysis that will happen through the web side of the tool. So we're going to kind of take that lens as we go through this now. We're going to stay on that forms conversation for a little bit before we move on. I'm not going to spend a lot of time here on this dashboard, but do know there is a dashboard, a configurable dashboard. So you see here, I can add widgets and I could build out whatever widgets I want. You can make these kind of these dashboards as you build them out available just to yourself. Maybe it's your personal dashboard. Maybe you want to make it available to all of your safety team. Then it becomes a safety team dashboard, and you can kind of manage who has access to these dashboards. Maybe every single person is going to have their own dashboard, and they can build that out however they like. But there is a dashboard here for kind of some high level metrics, kind of this 30,000 foot view of what's going on. And I'll show you, if this is the 30,000 foot view here in a second, I'm going to show you more of the kind of drill down in the weeds, kind of getting into the data from a different area within the tool. But just know there is a dashboard here that you could set up and configure to your exact spec. Left-hand nav, you kind of see how I can navigate through the product. I'm going to get into forms here for about 12 or so minutes. So if I click into that, kind of dovetails off of a lot of what Rosanna was showing you. You see kind of a similar look and feel, right? I have my folders on my left. Over within each folder, there is a subset of forms. This is pretty common amongst all of our customers, but certainly our construction customers are usually naming the forms, the folders in this fashion, but do know this is 100% configurable over here on the left. So you don't have to adopt this structure. If this isn't how you run your safety program, then great. You might have 5 folders and they have 5 different names. You might have 50 folders. You get to build this out as you like. And then the forms live within the folders, right? So an easy way to organize it. Take a step back in terms of how forms come to life in the system. You could certainly build a form from scratch, right? You see in the upper left corner, form builder, drag and drop, pretty slick. I'm going to show this in a second. So you could build a form from the ground up. If you have very specific forms that you want within the tool, our implementation team, as you get going, helps you build those out. And then once we kind of get you off the ground, we train you on how to use the form builder, and you could build however many forms you want. You do not need to request, development services, not only for time, but money. That doesn't exist here. So you get to kind of own however much you want to put in the system, and there's no restriction around that. So that's one way forms get in the system, build them from the ground up. I spoke to a forms library. So this is another way that the forms can come to life. And I can click into this, and I have a search term there. So let me clear that out. And there's about 230 forms in here. Maybe you need a AED inspection. And so you could search for that. Boom, we happen to have one. You can import it and start using it. You could import it and make changes to it. And so forms can come from our templatized library. If that is so desired. And so that's how forms kind of come to life here, right? Pull them from our library, use them as is, edit them, build them using our form builder, and build them from the ground up. I'm going to show real quick on the form building side just what this looks like. You name the form down here, you start adding fields. If you used a form builder from another provider, Microsoft Forms, Google Forms, SurveyMonkey, right? All of these kind of similar look and feel in that you have options that you can add in terms of fields to the form. And you could build out that form however you want to build it, whether you're adding a signature field, maybe you're adding a drop-down list, maybe you want to add an attachment field. You see all the options here. You could build that form out from scratch if you so desired. Pretty slick feature that I will mention here that's getting released in about 10 to 12 days, so y'all are getting a sneak peek. We do have an AI form agent that we will be releasing, and as much as people love to build forms by scratch, we have a lot of customers who've built 500 field forms and probably spent 5 to 10 hours, if not more, kind of dialing that in. Um, we have we will be releasing this form agent that will do a lot of that heavy lift for you. So example being you could drag and drop. I have this JSA as an example. Oops, this is what it looks like, right? Kind of a common, lots of checklists, lots of sections. I can drag and drop that here and let the form agent start processing it. And what'll happen is I preloaded it. It takes about a minute to process, but a minute is a lot quicker than what it would take to build this 57 field form. So you see the form over here, that one I kind of just previewed, and then over on the left, it has taken that and turned it into a form within our system in terms of built out all the fields. It picked up all the kind of check boxes, even down below. It noticed over here on the right, it noticed that job step one or step hazard control, pretty common like 3-column approach to a JHA, AHA, in that you're saying, hey, we're doing this task. This is the hazard associated with that task. This is how you control or mitigate said hazard. So it picked that up. It built it out within the tool, how we would use the functionality. So you kind of see what it did. And it did that in about a minute and a half. What's even cooler is you could then, switch over to this chat and you could say, hey, I need, make all these employee fields at the bottom required, or make all the checklists required. You could start interacting with the agent using chat, and it will make the changes to this form so that you don't need to go into, say you want to make all these required. You don't have to go into each form, click edit, check a box, make it required, edit, check a box, make it required. You can tell the agent to do that, and it will do it in a matter of seconds. So I wanted to show this as we're released it to beta to some existing clients, and the feedback has been tremendous, and they're quite excited. Obviously, I think everyone sees the time savings in this piece of it. Building a form by scratch that takes many minutes, even hours sometimes, and streamlining that process is a big deal. So I want to make sure I spoke to that and show that that'll be another way that forms can come to life in an even more efficient manner.
Taylor, just real quick, I answered it in the chat, but just wanted to bring this out. Someone asked, if you complete a pre-op checklist and mark down an issue with a piece of equipment, will it automatically notify the maintenance department of the issue? So yes, we can do we have what's called group notifications that can be created based on either responses within a form, or conditions that can notify different individuals or multiple individuals within your company for every single form that you set up within the system. And then Taylor might touch on this later. We also have workflow processes that you can set up that can assign tasks to different individuals based on responses and conditions that you set within a form as well.
Yep, and I was going to speak to that. It could warrant a whole hour in itself in terms of talking about workflows, but this is a good point to talk to it. And to Rosanna's point, right? A form gets filled out, and all you need is just like someone to be notified. we can do that, right? Group notification, even can go into like the form and say, if this field is this, or if this field is these three things, then send this person a notification versus if it's the other two fields within that drop down, send it to this other person. But that's really just a notification. What Rosanna was just speaking to would take that one step further. And maybe you needed to do more than just a notification. You actually want to drive forward kind of a CAPA, corrective action, preventative action, and drive that process forward to completion. Then you would use our workflow engine, where you would build out a workflow for that process instead. And so the workflow would trigger on some field within that form. Let's just stick with the equipment, for example. Hey, windshield wiper is broken, or is marked failed. Trigger a workflow to not only alert our kind of equipment manager, fleet manager, but also send them a task to drive them to the workflow itself to then mark the resolution, upload proof of the resolution. Maybe they need to sign off on the resolution. And so you can kind of drive that process forward through the tool. A very common example, I would say, I think Rosanna and I both agree in this in terms of like the number one process that has a workflow behind it is typically incident management. And since I'm on the screen, I'll speak to it, right? First step might be initial first report of incident happens out in the field. Maybe that's filled out by a foreman, a superintendent, whoever that case might be out in the field. Typically, it's a shorter form, just documenting the high level of what the incident was. But then that triggers the next step in the process, and that might be an incident investigation. And then once that's completed, maybe someone's going to do a root cause analysis. And maybe once that's completed, the safety manager, safety director is going to do an overall review and sign off that this went the way we wanted it to go in terms of it all being resolved. So that's a 4-step workflow. You could build that out in the tool to drive that automation forward and to be honest, to drive the accountability and move the process to closure. Thanks, Rosanna, for bringing that up. So we talked kind of how forms came in the system. I showed you the agent to build them. You build them, pull from the forms library. We talked about workflows behind them in terms of driving ownership of the process if it's a multi-step process. But let's talk real quick because we're going to run up against time. Just drill down reporting. So each form within the tool. So here I'm on the initial incident report. Over here, I'm on my aerial lift. You'll see every form in the system has this responses feature. And so if I go back to incident and I go to responses specifically for my initial incident reports, this is where you'll be able to start performing some of that kind of deep dive, drill down analytics. Maybe you just need activity, like how many did we have in the last 6 months, right? I can click search, apply that filter. We've had a few, right? And you can see trends. You see this blue ribbon bar here. So maybe you want to break it down by project. Let me widen this data set up just a bit. I'll do all time just to show a bigger data set. But maybe you want to see a trending view of all your incidents by week, by month, just kind of from a volume standpoint. Maybe you want to identify, do we have a project that is like our problem child? And yeah, Samsung is by far and above the rest. You see some analytics being displayed here. You can grab these, put these into other kind of executive style reports if you need to do that. Maybe you want to drill down by incident type, and this is where you can kind of start to get some of your leading, lagging indicators out of the tool based on the responses. Most in this demo environment are fire, explosion, followed by injury, illness. Maybe you're concerned about PPE, and so you want to look at the body parts. Are we having a ton of hand injuries, head injuries, foot injuries? Every field within the form becomes a reportable data source within this reporting. So this is a drop down within the form. Thus, we're collecting all this data, and thus I can drill down on said data. The idea here is you can get into this as much as you need to help you better make informed decisions in terms of, shoot, we need to put everyone into hand safety training because we have way too many hand injuries, or we need to talk to our foreman or our field leadership out at project A because for some reason they have 2 times as many incidents as any other project. So it's giving you that data to make better informed safety decisions is really what's happening here. And you could do this on a per form fashion. So maybe you want to drill down into your toolbox talks, maybe you want to drill down into that sticky daily pre-task plan. Every form will have this drill down style report where you can look at the analytics. Of course, if you want to pull it out, you can export it into some presentable modes. You can pull this up on the screen. Maybe this table view is really important for you to look at, and you want to decide what you see in this table. You can actually change the fields that appear in this table. Maybe you always want to see the temperature and the wind. You would just click these and it would bring them into the table, and that's sticky. So the next time you come into the tool and go to this report, that's going to be there. You don't have to reset that. And of course, if you want to see the details of any of these, right, I want to dig in on this incident out at the airlift pump, I can click details. And this is where you see the individual kind of submission of this incident report. I'm seeing a location that was captured. I'm seeing some automatically collected weather, how long they spent in the form, right? This would be a problem, 46 seconds. Maybe someone pencil whipped this a little bit. So you're going to get some data around the person who submitted it. And then you're going to get the data in the form itself. What happened, who was involved, brings in the employee's profile, right? A drawing in this example of where the injury occurred. Maybe there isn't, but there might be photos in this one, or maybe a witness statement down below. You would see the witness statement, but this is the individual record. For sake of time, I need to get moving a little faster. Any questions on forms? This is a big piece of the tool, so I don't want to leave this without answering any questions. But any questions here in terms of the functionality and what this could help you solve?
Madison, I know there's a question in the chat about what CAM members get in terms of discount, what the tech support looks like, but I assume we'll wrap with that. So we'll let that marinate in the chat for a minute.
Fair enough. And do know we talked incident a lot. We talked about the workflow to drive that process forward. We do have OSHA reporting within the tool. So your OSHA 300, your 300A, your 301, you can mark any incident recordable, and then the system will drive you to kind of that process of your 300 logs, and you can actually track that all in the system using our OSHA case manager if that was desired. And I'll just flash this on the screen to show you what this looks like. But another set of analytics around your OSHA recordables and TRIR and DART and a bunch of metrics here once this loads. So know that you can do that in the tool, not just manage the incidents, but also your OSHA reporting as it pertains to incidents. I'm going to spend only 5 minutes here on assets and equipment because it somewhat ties into forms. But know that you can load all of your equipment and assets in the tool. You decide what is a piece of equipment, what's an asset. We have some folks who are going to put every hand tool in the system. We have others that are just going to put their vehicles and maybe their mobile elevated work platforms and kind of the larger pieces of equipment. You can create a profile for as many pieces of equipment as you want. There's no limit there. And you kind of see in this demo environment, right? There's types, and you could organize them by the type. You could filter by the type. Maybe you want to associate the equipment to a different location or a project or who it's assigned to, especially if it's a motor vehicle, a company vehicle. So you kind of see how each piece of equipment can have a profile. And then if I click into any of these, I'll just do, which one was I going to do? I think I was going to do this pickup truck, right? This example, I can click into this. It kind of looks like an employee profile, but instead it's an equipment profile. And I happen to have a picture. Once again, I have a QR code. Rosanna spoke to the employee QR codes. We also have QR codes for the equipment. So think slap this QR code on that piece of equipment somewhere. Someone out in the field can scan it. It will pull up this profile page. Maybe you put operating manuals, safety manuals. If it's a vehicle, maybe this is where you put the insurance card or any other type of information that is important to the person who scans it. But I can also scroll down here and link some of those forms I was just talking to this piece of equipment. Example for this being monthly truck inspection. I've linked up to this piece of equipment. I've told the system it's required monthly, and it expired a long time ago, September 26, 2025. You see that it shows it's expired. And what I can do is from here, quickly click inspect. And your user would be pulled up to this screen once they scan that QR code, and they could perform this truck inspection. You see, because I came from the profile itself, it pre-filled out the equipment, and I can start to fill this thing out in terms of my monthly truck inspection. If I scroll down and click submit. Sorry, this is blocking my screen. Click submit. If I went back to um, that specific asset profile and refresh this page, you see that monthly truck inspection, that one set expired, now says up to date because I just performed that vehicle inspection. And it stores that inspection record to this asset profile. That inspection record also lives over where I was just in the forms. And if I went to the monthly truck inspection, I would see it there too. But we pull it over here so that if someone was, super interested in just looking at this truck and what's happening with this truck, I would see all that history of all the pre-use inspections. And this example, they have a 10,000-mile service, all of the inspections tied to this piece of equipment. So I want to make sure I mention that because it does tie into the forms feature quite a bit in terms of performing those kind of preventive maintenance, pre-use type inspections. With that, knowing we only have about 25-ish minutes left of the demo portion before we open up to Q&A, I'm going to move over to the LMS. So that lives in training here. And so we're going to shift our minds a little bit from kind of field safety processes, performing kind of inspections and incidents and incident reports and incident investigations to managing safety training, also any other training, to be 100% honest. And you'll see why that is here in a second. Just navigationally, left side is more the administrative tracking, reporting side of training. And then over on the right side is the kind of the content side of the house, kind of the courses and where you can manage the actual training content itself. So I'm going to just quickly open up the training library. And you'll see here all of the lessons available to you. If you bought into the LMS and this feature was provisioned, you would be able to pull in any content into your account. Now, this is going across all of our content categories. That's a lot of content. Most likely, what most of our construction clients would opt in on is this category called construction training, and then maybe you would do something like probably configurable, customizable training as well. So that's most commonly what our construction clients would pair together. These two packages turns out to be about 311 lessons or courses. This content is award-winning. You see that up here in the upper right, but we have a team, fully staffed team of safety training professionals who are out of our Philadelphia office. And they are not only CSPs and certified health and safety trainers, but there's also quite a bit of production and content production backing behind them. And they are actually putting this training together and they're curating it, they're creating the content, they're ensuring it's up to date. If something's not, they come back through and update it and release it with an update. So this content is evergreen, but it's also hyper curated and quite impressive. And so you would pull these pieces of lessons and content into your account, and then you would start assigning them to essentially individuals within your organization who need to take them. So I can just open up, for example, maybe this accident prevention. You can import it, but maybe I just want to preview it. And you kind of see here on the screen, some music's playing. I don't know if everyone hears that.
Accidents occur across various industries.
But it's an online course. We've all done probably online training of some sort at this point in our careers. And so it looks and feels very similar to that. So that's where the content typically comes from, but kind of like our forms, right? This would, be the library where you could pull from. Maybe you will pull some of maybe you also have a bunch that you've built out on your own. We have some construction clients, typically our more larger construction clients have safety training teams and they build out content and that's what they do. And so they don't necessarily want to use all of our content. Maybe they use some of it, but maybe I'm going to click here to lessons. Maybe they want to build out their own and replicate a process, content and training they've already created. So here in the lesson builder, I can start to build out these lessons. Once I import a course I was just showing you, it would live here. And if the course is customizable, you can actually make changes to it just by clicking edit. But maybe you want to build a lesson from scratch, upper right corner. You could dial in this lesson, right? Safety orientation. Maybe you have a process already in place. You would, kind of like our form builder, start to build out this orientation. You would add a slide, You're going to add some bullets, a document, an image, a text slide. Maybe you have it in a format like AICC or Scorum. Maybe you have it from another third-party LMS and you just want to import it. You could do that as well. You could build in quizzes, surveys, video links to play a video within the course, so on and so forth. So pull from our library and use ours as is. Pull from our library and edit it if it's a customizable course, which quite a few of them are, or build your own from scratch using the lesson builder. So similar to the forums conversation, that is very much how lessons and training content also come to life. I'm going to bounce back here to training, right? So we talked our courses from our library. They end up in lessons. You can also build your own, and those would also live in lessons. And so that's where you kind of maintain the content. And then over on the left side is where you would manage more of the administrative side of training. So first would be like who is assigned to do what training. So if I open up trainings real quick, just to show this training assignment concept. And maybe I'm gonna do electrical safety. I'll just do this lockout tagout, for example. Once this is in the system, I can tell the tool, right, not only does this expire every year and start notifying the employee who needs to retake the course, 2 weeks before, 4 weeks before, 6 month before, 3 months before, whatever the case is, not only set the renewal rate, but you would tell the tool who's responsible for taking this training. Is it everyone? Yeah, you might have some safety training that is required indeed of every single employee of your organization. Sure, then set that to everyone. Or in more cases, this is kind of more specialized training maybe, and only people with a certain title. I'll just stick with a simple one here, right? Everyone's job title who is foreman and general foreman. They need to take this lockout, tag out training. I click continue. It identifies 14 people within the system who are identified as a foreman or general foreman. And when I save this, it's going to assign those 14 people this specific training. And so that's typically how most of our clients will set up the trainings, is they're going to assign them. Sure, if it's everyone, great, just set it to everyone. But most are going to do these conditional assignments for training. Everyone on this, based on this project has special training for that project. Boom, if you're associated with that project, assign it to them, or job title, or location, so on and so forth. So the system will then, once you set those training assignments, the system will drive that forward. And it's going to send notifications to the person responsible for taking the training. Rosanna mentioned it'll pop up on their task list on the mobile app, which it will, and they can complete the training from there. And that's really how the system drives the administration of the online training to the employee responsible for completing it. The last piece, I skipped over a few things like group training. I'll speak to it. I won't click in there, but that's where you would manage any instructor-led training or field training. So maybe you have someone that goes on site, someone on your safety team, and does like a group style training with a bunch of folks out in the field. You could log that training through the tool using group training, and you would tell the system what training did we cover. You'd select 3 of them maybe in this example, and then the 5 people that are there, the system will give credit to those 5 people to those 3 trainings and track all that to the employee profile as well. And the training status report, this would be more of the metrics and analytics side of training, where you could pull, all trainings completed, trainings by employee, right? And you're going to get data down here below, employees per training, if you just need counts, right? Maybe you want to track your completions, so on and so forth. This is pulling across all trainings, but you could, drill down. I need to see I need to see what's going on with aerial lifts. You can click into that and kind of report based on that. And so you have a lot of pre-canned reports built here within the tool, right? Giving you some visibility into what's going on. Why is no one taking chemical awareness? We're at 0% completion, so on and so forth. There's also a slick, for those that love their Excel matrix, because I know a lot of contractors do, you can pull out the data that's stored in the system into a matrix. And I'll let this run real quick and show this. And it'll essentially reverse engineer that matrix. Maybe you need to send that out for someone asking for all of your history of safety training. You want to send them to that matrix. It also is a nice visual. So once this downloads, I will share that on the screen. Here we go. Waiting for it to download. There it goes. So if I open this up, let me just show the matrix. All right. And so it took all of your employees, pretty common, all of the trainings across the top row, and then it's color coding it. So the greener good, mean it's valid. Red means expired. There's no yellows here. Would mean it's going to be expiring, or orange going to be expiring soon. So you can get a matrix out of the tool. If you like this view and you want to kind of still view a matrix, we can give you the matrix like this. And to be honest, it might be better organized than a matrix you're currently managing, in that the data will be hyper accurate given the tool. The tool is driving this process forward. Questions on training real quick before I move into just a real quick overview of our subcontractor management tool.
Taylor, I just had a quick question, and I'm assuming it would be through that group trainings button that I see there, but I know we have a lot of contractors whose field personnel go through the MUST online training. So they have to take it through the MUST platform, but knowing what their expiration dates look like to make sure they're staying on top of their report cards.
Yep.
Is that I'm assuming you would just create that as a training and then you mark it as complete, right?
You have a few options. You could do it as a group training, right? And put everyone, if everyone did it at the same time. If the completion date's important, then my suggestion would not be do it as a group training. Now, if they did it all together and the date is the same, sure, group training would do that, right? It would give everyone credit. We have a bulk import tool called data loads where you can upload an Excel file. Maybe you have last month's MUST training that was completed. It's a bunch of different dates. It's 15 different people. You could run that bulk import off of that Excel file, and it will give, it's called a completion report or completion import, and it'll give everyone credit based on that file. So it's kind of like a bulk import.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep. Cool. Let me do the quickest contractor management demo ever here in 11 minutes, but we'll get through it. I'm actually going to shift screens here. Bear with me. Okay. So within the Flex tool, we've seen forms where all your safety processes live. We've seen equipment and assets. We've seen the LMS and where you manage training. We didn't go into resources, but that's where that safety binder lives. We didn't go into SDS, but we spoke to it. That's where all your SDS would live. One other piece in terms of a module that can be added to your account is this product called Contractor Management. And so this is really focused on pre-qualification vetting of your subcontractors before they show up on site. We have further plans for this tool down the road throughout the course of the rest of this year, where we're not only going to do the pre-qualification onboarding, but now they show up on site. We're going to have some access control, who's on site, who's not, what are they doing on site. And then we'll go one step past that. Now they're on site, we want them to participate in some of our safety program. And here's this QR code for them to scan. And on a daily basis, we want them to fill out a task hazard analysis or perform some inspections, whatever the case is. Access control and on-site work are something that's coming this year. What's here right now is focused on kind of that first step, which is pre-qualification and onboarding. And the core concept is within the tool, the foundation of the tool, right? We have widgets and a little dashboard here. I'm going to come back to this. I see my contractors down below, but the core foundation of this tool revolves around this idea of managing requirements. And so we call them requirements. You would click here and get a view of kind of what a lot of our clients using this tool are managing their pre-qualification packet per se through here, right? And so they're collecting a COI. Maybe they want the contractor to upload some sort of proof of training for the workers coming on site. Maybe we want to capture their contractor's license. Maybe we're curious about their last 3 years of OSHA logs. This is all configurable by you, so you don't have to take this requirement set you see here, right? These 32. You would determine using our tool what the requirements are, and you would build out this requirement set. And building them out is super simple, right? Individual requirement, you have 4 options. You're going to build out a form, Most are using this for like a subcontractor safety questionnaire where you're going to ask 15 questions and ask them maybe to verify some stuff about their safety program. Maybe you're going to do a document upload. Most classically, most heavily, this is used for a certificate of insurance upload, but it could be that upload of the contractor's license, upload of your business license, upload of the truck that's coming on site, whatever that case is. Policy sign off is you sending the contractor something to review, acknowledge, and provide a wet signature. Most commonly, this is like a sign off on our subcontractor safety policy and tell us you will adhere to said policy. So that's policy sign off. And then training, you have two options. You can either set up kind of like a proof of upload training requirement. That would be, hey, we require all of our contractors coming on site to have OSHA 10. Please upload proof of all of the workers OSHA 10, and they can upload that. That's one option for training. Or you can actually, and I'll click into this one to visualize this, you could actually set up like a contractor orientation where you're not actually going to ask for upload of it, but you're going to associate an online course for this. And you can build out using the LMS I just showed you, subcontractor orientation. And when you onboard the contractor and that contractor adds some workers, then those workers will be assigned this orientation course. Not all of our contractor management clients, are at that point where they are sending online training to the subcontractor worker. Some are starting to do it though, because it is a pretty unique feature within this platform. So you have the option, group training or proof of training, or online training if you so desired. Ultimately, what's going to happen here is you're going to have your requirements kind of set up within the tool, and you can certainly group them, right? Maybe you want to group landscaping contractors have these 7 requirements, but our electrical contractors have these 11 or 12 requirements. Or maybe you want to group on region or state, tier 1, tier 2, high risk, low risk. You set up the groups. You get to decide what requirements live within each group, but you can group the requirements if you'd like. Once you've dialed in this requirement set, the next step in the process is adding a contractor. So you see that button there. You can add the contractor. You would plug in a contractor name, who's our admin there, first name, last name, email. And then you would say, what are the requirements for this contractor? And you're either going to pick from the list individually, or you're going to apply that group I was just mentioning. And once you add the contractor to the system, it's going to fire off a welcome email to the contractor and their contractor admin. And they're going to go in and log into the tool and interface with essentially a task list. They don't access your account here, right? So we're still in your account. We'd call you the hiring client if you were using this tool. They don't access your account. They're accessing something called the contractor portal, where they can go in there, they see the requirements that you've set forth of them, and they can start submitting to those requirements. As they're submitting them, you see on your side this pending task list start to kind of build up, right? Review the last 3 years of Alpine Electric. You could click into this if this was your job function, and you could look at this document. This is a fake document, but you would look at the document, verify it with your own eyes, and either approve it or reject it. If I approve this, you see the status change to approved. If I go back to the dashboard, this pending task list went from 21 to 22. And so you would review all of the submissions as they're coming in and give them the thumbs up or thumbs down. If you reject it, it kicks it back, and you can give a note as to why it was rejected, and the subcontractor can resubmit. As this is all playing out, the contractor profiles here down below start to populate with more information, right? And so you're seeing kind of an approval status. It's pending, meaning they have requirements still outstanding. New means you've just added them and they haven't even logged in yet. And then there's approved, which you see here, and there is a rejected, which I don't see any here rejected, but there is a rejected status for the contractor status. The compliance score is a completion of the requirements. A completion score essentially. So for Allied Plumbing, for example, for 4 requirements, they've completed 3 of the 4, thus the 75%. And then you could certainly tag the contractors. We have a few construction clients who are managing 500, 800 contractors in here, and it gets a bit unwieldy if you don't start deploying tags. So maybe I just need to quickly see all of my Arizona contractors. I can apply that tag, and my list of 800 is down to 24, a little bit more manageable. So tags become certainly important. Well, they can be important for a small contractor set too, but certainly the larger the amount of contractors, the more likely tags are being used to just organize the data for quick slicing and dicing. In my last 3 minutes, I'll click into one of these just to give you a view of what the profile looks like. Let's go to Iowa Mechanical here. I can click Manage. And if you needed to come in here and get some information on this contractor, maybe you need to prove that you have the contractor's license stored, right? You can get it here. You can click Review, and the document's here. I can view it and download it if I need to get it. So this is where you would access all of the documentation as it pertains to Iowa Mechanical. Maybe you need to add some more contacts there. Maybe they sent you their certificate of insurance 3 months ago before you started using this tool. There's actually a feature within the system that you can go into review and you could perform an upload on behalf of the contractor. So we had this request pretty early on that, sometimes we have the document already and we don't want the contractor to have to do it. So could you make a way for us to be able to do it? And so that's what this upload on behalf of the contractor is. Had Iowa Mechanical here had a training requirement, which they don't, but had they, and say they added 4 or 5 employees, you would see those 4 or 5 employees and the status as it pertained to that training requirement, whether they've completed it or not. That was a very high-level overview of contractor management, but I wanted to make sure we save time, about the last 12 minutes, kind of wrap up and answer any outstanding questions. Can certainly dig into any of this more. If any one individual wants to set up time, we can certainly get into any of this. To be honest, Rosanna and myself and the rest of the solutions engineering team oftentimes will do a LMS demo for a course of an hour, a contractor management demo for 45 minutes. So we really just scratched the surface, but hopefully we were able to show you some of the cool stuff we have going on here, a lot of the value that it can bring to your organization. And with that, I'll stop sharing and we can get into the Q&A portion of the session.
So Taylor, I'll say this. It's been more years than I want to say out loud since I've managed a safety program, but I can tell you that when I was doing it, my life was Excel spreadsheets and a access database that one of our office folks built for me to try to track all of this in one place.
Yep.
And when I saw this demo, I felt like my mind was kind of blown because it was like all of those pieces that I had scattered all over the place that nobody else had access to except me, or else nobody knew what all my crazy color coding meant except me.
Yep.
And this is sort of all in one kind of amazing place. And I know what I can say with confidence is that there are a lot of data nerds on this call, and everybody loves a good graph. And so this makes it really simple to kind of extract that information and report it up through your chain of command.
Most certainly does. And I didn't speak to it, but speaking to the data nerds here, certainly I showed you the kind of the reports and the tooling within the platform that gives you some of that analytics. But we have a good handful of clients who, at a corporate level, they're using a BI tool, whether that's Tableau or Power BI. And maybe you want to roll up the safety data that you're collecting in Flex into that kind of corporate reporting tool. We do have an open API, so that allows you to kind of your technical team or IT team, whoever that might be, can actually tap into the data within Flex and pull that out into one of those other reporting tools if that was needed from a business standpoint. We have a good handful, more than a handful, many handfuls of customers who do that. So I want to make sure at least I mention that. Absolutely.
Does anybody else on the anyone
questions?
on the call have any questions for Taylor or Rosanna while we have them? Did we lose everybody? They all turned their cameras off. Everybody's taking an afternoon siesta.
Maybe.
Well, I want to thank you guys for your time. I think it's a powerful tool. It's an amazing platform that can put a lot of things in one place and really streamline some of the operations, I think, for uh, some of our contractor members here. So I will tell everybody while you're on the call, I'm going to share my screen here so that I can show you, if you are interested in more information, where you would go to find that. So I have too many screens happening here. So if you're on the CAM website, you can click on member benefits up here at the top. You can scroll down through all the benefit programs that we offer. And right here, the Novara link, the learn more, will take you to a landing page specifically about all of the bells and whistles and benefits of this program. And then the learn more here will take you to the Novara site so that they connect the dots that you're a CAM member, you're being referred from the CAM site. And then I think Madison put in the chat that CAM members are eligible for 10% off of the list price to subscribe to this platform. So if you guys are interested in more information and you want a quote, or you want a personal demo to dive more into some of the things that were covered today, please feel free to do that. And I know that the team with Novara will be happy to do that for you.
Absolutely. And yeah, even if you're not ready for the quote piece, but you want to learn more and dig into a live demo like Tracy mentioned, we can set that up. We have a team ready to do that, and we'd be happy to walk you through, and we could talk a little bit more about your kind of specific needs and desires in a tool, and kind of where your current state is, and that will help us shape a demo that's really tailored to what you need to see. So we could certainly do that. I encourage that if anyone wants to dig deeper into the platform, we can have those conversations, and we welcome them.
Awesome. Thank you, Taylor.
Cool.
You guys are welcome to stay on the call if you'd like to sit through the last few minutes here where we kind of go over our committee business, or feel free to drop off. You're not chained up here. You can leave at your leisure, but I just want to thank you for your time today.
Yeah, no, thanks everyone for hanging in there. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
All right. So I made the agenda pretty light today because I anticipated that demo was going to take longer than some of our normal professional development things that we have. But I hope you guys found that useful. It's a newer member benefit program that we just started offering this past spring. And I know that we've already got a couple of members that use it. They didn't come through CAM to use it, but I know there's a few insurance agents out there that offer it to their insured groups as kind of a benefit of using their services. So I know we've got a few CAM members that are using it through that relationship. So just a few things on the agenda today, some industry updates. There's a link here. I'll attach this to the calendar invite after our meeting today, so you guys will have all have access to these links on this agenda. But of course, it's going to be a gajillion degrees this week, surface of the sun hot. So we're still talking about heat-related illness. I hope everybody has downloaded that NIOSH app to their cell phone where it pinpoints where you are, what the temperature is, what the humidity looks like, and then tells you if you're in a danger zone and what you need to do to keep safe or to keep your people out there in the field safe. So there's a heat-related illness resources link on the agenda that'll take you to the CDC landing page, and then there's a bunch of resources linked there. MIOSHA released beginning of last week, I believe, the
Tracy,
updated revisions to the concrete construction standard. I summarized the changes in a blog post. And so there's kind of, this is the change, this is what your company needs to do to comply. And then at the very bottom of that blog post, there's some quick links to sample safety programs, an overview of sample training. So some things that if you're involved in concrete construction, we put together some tools for you guys. Go ahead, Jason.
Hey, Tracy, just wanted to add for the heat-related illness, we've come across kind of a new wrinkle in the field that I'd like to share. For folks that are on GLP-1s like Wegovy and things like that, there was a bulletin put out a couple of weeks ago that apparently that suppresses some of the thirst reactions, and those people are now a lot more susceptible to heat stress and heat stroke in the field. Obviously, That's a medication, as an employer, you may not be aware of that somebody's taking, but for considering the weather that we have coming up and how many people are on those GLP-1s, that might be something worth at least making people aware of and maybe start monitoring it. And if you are doing heat-related illness investigations in the field, that might be an underlying factor, especially if you have good programs, but an individual went down for what could be related to a personal medical issue. So I thought I'd just share that with the group.
Thank you for that. I hadn't heard that, so I appreciate that insight. The situational awareness webinar, I think that came out in May. It was on last month's agenda. I left it on here. The webinar is still available for free if you're interested in sharing that with your team. And again, that just is tying back to the extreme number of fatalities last year and this year that are related to struck by and caught in situations. I am astonished clearly about how the script has really changed. We've always talked about fall protection, fall protection, fall protection. You ask a group of construction workers, what's the leading cause of death in construction? And they pretty consistently will say falls. And now here we are in Michigan last year and now trending this year. Falls is not the leading cause of death. It's these struck by and caught in incidents. So we really need to be doing a better job of educating in the field. One of the things that we're seeing is people driving into work zones on the side of the road because they're distracted or because they don't understand the signage, and so they're in lanes that they shouldn't be in. And then also on construction sites, especially where there's no space and it's a very congested zone, there needs to be really clear indications on where the people are supposed to be and where the equipment is supposed to be. And so those things don't cross ever if you can avoid it. And if you can't avoid it, then you've got spotters out there making sure that your pedestrians and people walking around the site are being kept safe from that moving equipment. So that's a little bit about situational awareness. And again, that webinar was released by MIOSHA back in May. And then the other MIOSHA thing I wanted to share is that Take a Stand for Workplace Safety and Health takes place August 10th through 14th. You can sign up to participate in this. MIOSHA will dispatch somebody to your job site or your office to participate in something that you've already got going on, or to lend their expertise. If there's a little meeting that you'd like to hold or have something you'd like them to share with the group, they're happy to do that for you. I think I saw Marcus join the call. Marcus, if you're still on the call and you want to chime in about anything else happening at MIOSHA or industry related, we'd welcome your feedback as well. Maybe we lost Marcus. All right, moving on, some upcoming events here at CAM. We've only got one safety training on the schedule here, but it's an important one. If you've been watching the headlines in Michigan in the last couple of weeks, we've had, I think, 3 trench cave-ins just in the last 2 weeks. And we've got an excavations, trenching, and shoring class on our calendar for August 26th. So if you've got anybody that needs that refresher training, please get them signed up to get that done here at our office on August 26th. Outside of that, we've got a couple of super fun networking opportunities. I have about 3 tickets remaining for the Tiger Game event that we're hosting on July 28th. So we meet at Firebird Tavern downtown. We eat and we drink for an hour or so, and then we walk over to Comerica Park together. We've got a section of 120 seats together. So all CAM members in that section of 120 seats. And again, I've got 3 tickets left if anybody is interested in those. On Saturday, August 15th, it is the largest classic car show in the world. It's the Woodward Dream Cruise. And our office here at CAM is right in the middle of the action. We are at Woodward and Square Lake. And so we encourage people to come to our building. We have a live band. We barbecue all day. People bring their chairs and they set up on our front lawn and watch the cars drive by. If you drive a show car, and I say show car and not classic car because as long as it's kept and driven as a show car, it does not have to be 25 years old to meet our requirements, but you can park it in our parking lot. We have about 80 spots available. So people will roll in, they'll hang out here for an hour or two, and then they'll roll out and cruise the strip. So that opportunity is available to anybody who's a member August 15th. And then a couple of educational series we have this fall, not necessarily safety related, but we've got a series of Bluebeam courses that we're going to be offering. They're all virtual. I think there's 8 in total. So it starts with a basic class, a basic estimating class, an advanced estimating class, a scheduling class, and so on. So there's a series of 8. They all take place from 11:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. virtual. So it's kind of like a lunch break class that you can take. You can sign up for all of them or just a handful of them, whatever makes sense. And then we have Constructing Leadership, which will start September 10th. And we hired a company to produce this for us, and it's they're called Goal Makers, and they call this a mini MBA style program. And it's really tailored for people who are looking to get more engaged in the leadership level of the business, and they need to understand driving culture, mission, vision, and values, hiring and firing, and reading financial statements. So this is an instructor-led virtual 10-week series that starts September 10th. We have a couple of industry experts that are going to chime in on some of those meetings. We have a gentleman named Lou, who's with Saxy Construction, who's going to talk about organizational culture and team building. And then we have Craig Walden, who's the CFO at AUK Construction. He's going to talk about demystifying financials, reading a financial statement, understanding gross profit margin, things like that. So again, that starts in September. Any questions about industry updates or CAM updates or anything to add? All right, moving on. I know I sent out a question for the committee last week that revolved around a very complex situation with the tower at a wastewater treatment plant. We got a lot of really great feedback on that, and I shared it with the asker. But if you didn't get a chance to chime in on that and you had something else you wanted to contribute or you had experience with something like that, please feel free. Go ahead and send that on to me and I can definitely share that out. The Safety Leadership Conference is still coming November 5th. My goal is to get the schedule kind of drafted by the end of this month so we can open up registration and start promoting those. I know I've reached out to several of you and inquired about your willingness to participate as a presenter. If you haven't heard from me and you want to do that, please let me know. I got a few more time slots to fill out there and a few folks I'm waiting to hear back from. So I'm wide open to any suggestions or volunteers for that process. Moving down to our upcoming dates, our next meeting is August 10th, next month. That one will be in person. That's what that little asterisk means right there. So I look forward to seeing everybody live and in person at our office here on August 10th. And then the meeting after that is September 14th, and we don't have a topic or a presenter for that. So if you are interested in filling that role, feel free to reach out to me and let me know what it is you'd like to talk about, and I can get you scheduled to do that. Otherwise, I will invent something and surprise you all with my amazing presentation skills about something that I come up with before September 14th. And then October 12th, Jason England is going to be presenting. He hasn't told us what he's going to talk about yet, but I've got him penciled in to cover that one in October. The next issue of CAM Magazine is the safety and health issue. I'm really excited about it. We just sent it off to the printer. So the digital issue is going to come out about 3 weeks from now, probably. And the whole issue is dedicated to safety and health. The construction highlight is a project that was completed at Trinity Health. And then there's articles from MIOSHA. Tracy Nelson from CAMComp contributed. We have a gentleman from CMIT, which is a IT consulting firm, who did a kind of an overview about security, but security as it relates to all of these software programs that you're letting your employees use and whether they're accessing those from personal devices and how that could put your network at risk. So it's safety, health, and security issue. That's the August issue. September, Grant from AUK is contributing an article. And then our November issue, we have Ted Degenhart contributing for that. I have not put out a call yet for safety toolkit articles for 2027, but that schedule is wide open. Again, if you want to contribute or you're interested in being an author for something, let me know and I'll be happy to throw you on a calendar. I send a calendar invite to warn you when your deadline is coming so you don't forget to submit your article. And then Diane here on the CAM staff does a great job of polishing whatever you turn in and getting it ready to go to press. Oh, we have a note in here. Mike Eckert wants to congratulate Greg Bridwell from Ram Construction for earning his CSP recently. Congratulations, Greg. Round of applause to you. Thank you for sharing that,
Thanks,
Mike. I
everybody.
appreciate that.
Thanks,
And
Mike.
yeah, and here's what I'll tell you, Greg. What we love to do in CAM Magazine is celebrate CAM member accomplishments. So that applies to anything across the board. If your company lands a big project, if you make a significant hire, if one of your employees earns a new credential like a CSP, feel free to send that to us in an email. And we have a section called People in the News and Corporate News, and wherever it makes sense to publish that information, we'll share that with the industry. So congratulations on that. Anybody else have any other good news to bring before the committee? Any questions or concerns or requests for help? All right, friends. I guess with that, I will bring this meeting to a close. If you wanted to share anything and you didn't get a chance to bring it up in the meeting today, please feel free to send it along to me and I can send it out to the group. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing everybody in person on August 10th. And I might even bake some chocolate chip cookies for the occasion. So if that gets you to show up, then consider that your incentive to be here next month. And with that, stay cool this week, stay hydrated. I'll be at a golf outing tomorrow, trying not to sweat to death. So take care of your crews out there, make sure everybody's working safely, and I will see everybody hopefully soon. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you. Thank you, Tracy. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys. See you later.